Action item A, consider an ordinance adding a new Article 8 to Chapter 58 of the Longview City Code regarding sleeping outside on private property. This is an action item that I asked council to consider this evening. I wanted to briefly review the current ordinances. This is, if you would pull up, thank you, my first slide. Our current ordinances state that it is unlawful for any person to sleep or lounge in or upon any public street, alley, highway, sidewalk, or other public property, etc. Next, please. Thank you. It is unlawful for any person, family, or other group of persons to camp within the corporate limits of the City of Longview. Our current ordinances prohibit camping in the City of Longview and prohibit sleeping in public property in the City of Longview. As I mentioned, this is an item that was brought to my attention multiple times from not only neighboring businesses, but from community citizens at large when we had, I have no intention of targeting a particular nonprofit, but all of the citizen comments have indicated that we are talking about One Love, who had individuals sleeping on their porch, that was something that community members gave me feedback that they did not support. Most everybody that contacted me believed that our current city ordinances, which restrict camping or sleeping outside, would cover that particular issue. Due to the language in the ordinances, it does not. What I've asked to be brought forward tonight for discussion and consideration on behalf of the council is what I believe is tailored narrowly enough to apply to that situation, which would eliminate the ability to sleep on private camp, essentially on private property is what it would do. And I believe that that reflects what our community as a whole has understood to be our current ordinance situation and would allow us to move forward to address what is obviously a very sensitive and needs to be handled with compassion topic. I have no intention of stopping any of our nonprofits from serving our homeless population, from individuals that need services. One Love, as well as any nonprofit that services this community, would be supported and encouraged to continue operating with services that are needed. I will publicly commit to me personally, as well as the city, looking into solutions to aid with those individuals, but I feel like this is a necessary step to get to a point where we can have those conversations. What I did not enjoy during my campaign time was a lot of things, but one, that this particular issue can be so polarizing that individuals will pull from national rhetoric and just yell at each other from each side. And I'd like for us to be able to set that down and look for actual solutions to help individuals. And I know that that is not the feeling that some of you have tonight with what I've brought forward, but I want you to personally hear from me that I'm committed to helping find city resources and help with those individuals that need assistance. But I would like to open that up to discussion. As I said, this is something that I've asked the council to consider. This is not from any other party. This is something that I drafted and that I asked the council to consider, and I'd like for us to have some discussion on it tonight.
I have a couple of thoughts.
Yes.
First, so all of this looks as if it's directed at one organization. And I don't know if it's anywhere else in our city where this is an issue, or any other places where we've had these concerns. That's the first thought. The second thought is I really would like for us to maybe have some answers, some of these problems resolved, and then we bring it to the city for the ordinance and the action items. Those are just my thoughts on it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that maybe it needs to be a little bit explained more in detail, that because I think the thought of it is that we're criminalizing homeless people, and I think that it needs to be clarified to everyone in here as to why they think that and why is it not that exactly what they think it is.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So starting with the original ordinances would I mean, by the definition that's been brought out tonight, would criminalize homelessness. Our current ordinances don't allow camping in the city of Longview and don't allow sleeping on public property. So that's actually probably more the focus than what we're talking about tonight. But I understand your comment. And to address that, what we included in the proposed ordinance is that not only the individual, but also the business owner could be ticketed. It is not my intention to ticket homeless individuals, although they would be in violation of that ordinance should they choose to partake in that activity. So that would be an option under the ordinance. But it also would allow for ticketing business owners who are encouraging or asking individuals to essentially camp on their private property.
So someone falls asleep at my place of business, then I am susceptible to be ticketed for that person falling asleep at my place of business.
If you were encouraging them to sleep outside, invisible of the roadway, not for recreational purposes, there's a number of exceptions to that.
Which
but-
is debatable if I'm encouraging it or not, correct?
Sure, that's a subjective measure.
There's typically a pattern to that.
I'm sorry?
There's typically a pattern, one-off situation or something like that would not induce maybe that you would be encouraging that action, right? So first off, like let's go over with what One Love is, okay? The One Love is a homeless day shelter, okay? It's not a low or no barrier shelter. We understand that does not exist at this moment, and that's something that does need to be addressed and something that Mayor Ishihara has committed to tackling to that issue to try to figure out a sense of way for housing. This is not, in my opinion, a target to a single organization, although it has been brought up due to a single organization, but is to prohibit the potential of this happening somewhere else in other instances. That has caused numerous, as we've heard, issues regarding the area and that has been impacted from that and the surrounding area that's having to be in that area, around that area. Also, this started out as a case-by-case situation where they would allow it under extreme circumstances where the individual may not have had an adequate place to attend, and it was done that way. And then with that, it has been expanded into a more of a recreational type of situation. Now, and also currently, the idea of this is that this is going to impact or hurt that community. They're currently not camping on the porch of One Love as it is right now. And prior to that allowance, they also were not camping anywhere else. So nothing of that changes. But what it does do is it does shift some of the safety concerns of law enforcement interactions that have been going on through that area and allowing it where there's not a risk to public safety in the concern of what's going with that. Now, I support One Love, and I completely think that the day shelter is highly needed and something that our community needs, and also that we need to find a solution that helps on the housing and the homeless situation with that.
Thank you.
I just have a few comments. I think this is a multifaceted issue. I think it deals with, first off, acknowledging, like you have already committed to, using city funds, resources, city staff time to figuring out solutions to this issue that's not just affecting us, but affecting a lot of the country. As well as, our job is to maintain order and to make sure that everybody's rights are being valued. And I think private property rights are a thing as well. And so I think part of our job as the council is to make sure that not only are we solving one issue, which is taking the steps towards solving this issue, which a lot of us went on a Kentucky trip recently to learn the best practices of other cities to see how they're handling this issue. And the other, as well, is making sure that business owners who are also citizens of this great city feel safe going to work. I know a lot of people think that we're so concerned about the bottom line. I don't think that's what it is, but as a small business owner in this current economy, it's hard to make ends meet as it is. And when you add additional barriers to that, it makes it really hard. I think this is obviously a huge issue that probably God himself is the one that's going to have to solve. But I think that if we can just have discourse and discussion over this, just to maybe settle some minds at ease and to be open, like anyone who wants to reach out to me, my email is mgambo@longviewtexas.gov, and I would love to hear your opinions in regards to this. But I think that the point of an action item is to resolve something that is going on. And would you please go over the revisions one more time, just
Oh,
in
sure.
regards to
Yeah,
what
I'm
this
sorry.
is?
Those are actually next on the slide. There we go. So the proposed ordinance would provide that it is unlawful for any person to knowingly occupy a location outside of a permanent structure for the purpose of sleeping unless the sleeping occurs with permission for recreational purposes only in a location not readily visible from the right-of-way and a location that does not obstruct entrances or exits in between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. and on a property that is located with a structure that would allow access to restroom facilities inside the structure.
Thank you. And I think we can all agree that public safety is at the forefront of all of this for all individuals involved. I know I've recently called some council members in Houston, and although they have approaches to dealing with this as well, you have to keep in mind that when you don't put parameters in place for people to take whatever route they may be, heat is coming up, and there's going to be a lot of demand with, people out on the street as it's getting hotter and things of that nature. And so I think we just have to do our due diligence to make sure that we are addressing this issue, but making sure that we're not making it easier for tragedies to happen. I know as fire and police have stated multiple times, they're recruiting because, nationwide, we're having recruitment issues with those things. And so I just think the system is bogged down. So.
Any other comments or discussion?
Okay. I'm the one taking the biggest hit on this because of a video. And I've talked to one individual in this whole town, and she knows who she is. I think she might even be sitting out here. And I'm not going to go back over that. I up here have used One Love. I have taken the gentleman up there, and they did an excellent job helping the gentleman at the time. I don't believe the story now because I saw him a week ago, and it's changed. But I said what I said on the video because there are certain things that were happening. The city could only do so much. So what started off as 3 people, 4 people, ended up being 10, 12, 20 people 2 weeks, 3 weeks later. I made the call to satisfy a constituent and the business that he has to let him know that we couldn't do anything as a city. And I even called 2 other officers to let them know that, and they came out and told him the same thing. I wanted him to understand that we as a council were doing the best that we could do with what we had to work with, that we couldn't get into the rights of those people. Now, did I want them moved? I sure did want them moved because it was raining that night. There was no place for them to go. I mean, it was raining on them right there over that porch. That was the 4th night and the 4th time I had gotten a call of that, and I finally went out there to look at this situation. And I still don't want them there because it's not a place for them to be. When we had freezing weather and it was below freezing, I got the call. Some of the other staff got the call, and I made a few calls. We couldn't find any place for them to go, so I made a decision to let them go in the building. As bad as it was, I made that decision because if something would have happened in that building, a fire or whatever could have happened in that building and those people would have gotten hurt or killed, I still made that decision that night. Now, I don't know what happened after that. So, the papers bladed me. The gentleman that was out there earlier, there's 2 sides to every story, and y'all aren't always hearing the other side of this story. Now, us as a council are real concerned about this, but sleeping on a porch is not the place to be. They need to find a place that we can put them. But putting 2 on there and then 4 on there and then 8 on there and then 16 on there, it just kept growing and growing and growing. There have been 400 plus police calls to that location. 2 of them were mine. Now, I don't know how many that Miss Veazey has called and had them come up there and run people off or take people off because of violence. But I do know that the business owners around there have called a lot because of that. Now, that's a big concern. But we're inheriting a problem that we didn't fathom that was going to happen, and we're trying to figure out how to fix it and help these people at the same time. But everybody wants to look at me as being the GOAT because somebody paid $2,500 from that organization to get that tape. And that's fine. I still stand behind what I said on that tape. And I thought, well, that $2,500 could have been used for hotel rooms or something that night that it got so cold and was freezing and everything. But they've got to have somebody to go after. So I'm the one that's going to go after, and that's fine. Somebody talk to the newspaper.
Guys, we're not taking comments from the gallery any longer.
So
I'm sorry.
we're all committed to it. Probably up here, I'm the one that's worked with the homeless people and the other organizations more than anybody. House of Disciples, Highway 80. I've been to those places. I've helped them people. I grew up with them people, like Mr. McKinney said. I grew up with that on Highway 80.
Steve, do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the action item A.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please indicate so.
I oppose it.
Thank you. I believe that passes 4-2. Thank you, guys.